practice. So we'll see.
What days are turf works?
Turf works are Friday and Sunday,
Friday and Sunday.
and they've been very, very busy. They can get about 70 both days.
I have a question. It might be the dumbest question ever. How, because I have to look under the hood to see if it's a filler. How do you identify the horses so rapidly?
Well, I mean, obviously every trainer has they're on saddle towels, so you could narrow it down right away to whose horses they are, and then you try to get marks, and you can grab the work tab and get some clues then by who worked what horses that day, and then try to narrow it down from the marks, the colors, and the clockers give us some help, especially on the main track side. The training track side during turf, at least for me during turf, and when Mike Vessey's over there, we pretty much kind of figure those out ourselves off the work tabs, and knowing again, who had horses out there and who wound up on the tab, and then when they work in teams, you try to separate them as best you can. A lot of times it's easy, sometimes not so much. Rudy had a trio this morning, and one of them was very good, but his marks were he had one little small star, one of his other horses had a little small star, so we're going to have to try to figure out which was which out of that.
Now this is what I don't understand. When you go out to the Breeders' Cup, and it's one of the few times I go out in the mornings, I think I'm right here, they all have a saddle cloth, and it has like a triple-digit number, and it says who they are. So that must be
It helps. I mean,
and I'm like, well, we can't.
Sometimes if they're all working at the same time, you don't have time even to read the saddle towel to see who they are. And the numbers you have to, you go back to the code book. It's almost like the old Groucho movie, A Day at the Races, when he bought all the code books from Chico. There is a list of the numbers corresponding to the horses, but when they're working and when there are a lot of them working, you can't stop and look at that
right,
point.
But at that point, that's about traffic.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
That's not about they've ID'd the horse for you to make your job.
Exactly.
What I think is just reasonable, and I've always been amazed. I'm like, it has
shouldn't
to be a
they
rule.
all? Yeah, shouldn't they all?
You send your horse out on this track, you got to get a saddle cloth with the name.
Well, it would just be too extended. I mean, there's the 1,000 horses back here. You couldn't make up 1,000 saddle towels, and guys are changing horses, other outfits. So you couldn't do it. I mean, even sometimes figuring out, like, there's 3 or 4 barns that have black towels. There's Steve Caceres. Ron Moquette came in today with a black towel. Gus Rodriguez has a black towel, and Michelle Nevin has a black towel. So sometimes you have to learn who the riders are with these outfits, or the little nuances on the equipment, to just even then figure out which outfit's black towel that was. So you got to start there. You got to start with whose horse it was, and then you try to narrow it down from there. And sometimes you can't do it. And sometimes it's just hard to separate. When Rudy Rodriguez works, 15 horses in the morning and 4 of them are bays with no marks, it gets hard to figure out which one was actually which. And sometimes, we might have the work in our book, but we have to leave it out if we can't positively identify which one it was.
And the workout reports, again, up here, a great tool for folks to add to their handicapping toolbox, and you guys do a great job there, not just watching the works, but again, who's in company, grade the works.
The one thing we can't control is when a horse comes in from Windstar Farm with works we haven't seen, like yesterday, and then runs off the screen.
At $30,
I mean, he had some fast works on the farm,
down there,
and they paid $320,000 for him. But out of sight, out of mind. He paid $30. If he had been working here and working fast, he probably, obviously he would have won, but he might have paid $12 because people would have seen him. So there's nothing we can do about that. No. We can't have clockers everywhere. So.
All right, let's get into as I say, a little preview and review, and love to get your thoughts on some of the action from the past weekend down in New Jersey, the Haskell. I've been saying, and I said it in the previous show, I thought the second half of the season would help define the 3-year-olds. I'm not sure the win by Cyberknife necessarily did that, but he now maybe can kind of stamp and validate himself. Arkansas Derby, Haskell, and add the Travers to that. Who knows? Nice win for Al Gold. Cyberknife here in the replay is going to be the number 1 horse. Taba for Bob Baffert. Mike Smith, the number 2, runs second. The disappointment, obviously, number 7, Jack Christopher, winds up third, and here's the 3-5 favorite. What were your thoughts on the weekend's Haskell?
There was some question whether Jack Christopher could get the distance or not, and so I was a little surprised that he was 3-5 with that question mark hanging over his head like that, and obviously he can't, and you might see him back to 1 turn after all of this. Great, ride by Florent on Cyberknife coming through on the inside like that. It made the difference here. I'm not sure where Cyberknife was in Brad Cox's pecking order of 3-year-olds. Obviously, he's moved up a little bit more now off of that performance. So we'll see how this race holds up as we move forward. If it's going to be a key race going forward to the Haskell and wherever else these other horses might show up. The big disappointment was Saffie Joseph's horse, unfortunately. White Barrio finished almost last in there. I know he didn't get a good run into the first turn. The horse wants to be closer, and he was wide and far back, but he was a big disappointment. Saffie really has no clue what became of him. He's obviously, I mean, just watching him train, I didn't think he was as sharp coming out of the Derby as he was going into the Derby, and he did run second in the Ohio Derby to Tawny Port. But he just, to me, he's not the same horse that I saw this winter when he won the Holy Bull and the Florida Derby.
Great in the Florida Derby.
Yeah, we'll see where he moves going forward from here, but I'm going to guess he's going to get a little time off.
The scary thing for me with Cyberknife was he looked like King Kong at the half-mile pole, looked like a winner if he gets any traffic. I mean, he just ran up on him in a split second. I thought Tabor ran better than I thought. I thought he was in trouble about the 3/8 pole, but...
Yeah, I mean, we'll see moving forward how this race
Hope
holds up.
Forward.
If it be determined if it's a key race or just maybe a little lower division than the ones that we're going to see in the Jim Dandy and others moving forward.
Interesting that he's an Al Gold horse that hasn't been in New York so far. So,
well, he will be now.
Yeah, exactly. Also wanted some thoughts here this past weekend. We'll watch the replay of the stretch run. This clearly on the weekend, as you look on Twitter and just talk to people, the wow performance of the weekend. Nest was just phenomenal in the Coaching Club American Oaks over Secret Oath.
Yeah, no, it was a great effort, and probably no surprise. She was training really, really well coming into the race, and we all kind of thought she was going to move forward and maybe have the edge over Secret Oath over their previous meeting in the Oaks. But, you didn't expect her to run off the screen almost like that. Now, look, the others behind her were all kind of staggering coming to the wire, including Secret Oath. They just didn't run their races at all. But take nothing away from Nest. It was an excellent effort, and we've seen her on the track since. She's looked terrific coming out of the race, so that's a good sign for Todd, too.
Very good, and trust us, the replay disappeared, but trust us, it was a very,
she did win.
Very good performance.
Oh, here it comes.
There we go. And again, she was just phenomenal. And,
right.
Obviously
everything behind her is struggling. You see Secret Oath's even on the wrong lead at this point. She just switched there, but, the race was over by then, and nobody else really ran back there, but Ness kept on and kept about her business. So
a 104 buyer.
Yeah, her best effort yet, obviously, and looks like she's destined to move forward, maybe even further when she move it in her next start.
Yeah, we're going to have Mike Rapoli on today, but he got tied up because I wanted to hear how much, what the enthusiasm might be for facing the boys. But after an effort like that, certainly it's in the conversation.
Yeah, I would think Mike might be game for something like that. I don't know about Todd, but Mike might. Well, Todd is too. Todd's run the fillies against the boys and won big races too, so I don't think that'll be any problem if Mike gives him the go-ahead to do it.
I think it's great news. You said how she came out of the race.
I mean, she's looked good on the track.
That dynamic, and then okay, let's go.
Yeah, sometimes races like that, take something out of horses, especially fillies, but not her. She's looked good on the track.
Tremendous.
Then Sunday, the Shoe V, we'll watch the stretch run there. Only a field of 4, but got what we wanted. Clear Air and Malathat kind of hooked up subsequently after the race.
I think we should explore a few solutions. Grammarly ensures your writing conveys confidence, so every message you send makes an excellent impression.
On Sunday.
Let's explore a few.
The chart margin winds up to be 1.5 for her in the Shoe V.